Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and I'm having a little giggle to myself. I'm looking at the clock tonight, and I know I go live at 7:30, right? But it's quarter to seven. And at quarter to seven, I went, oh my goodness, I need a hamburger. So I fried a hamburger. And then I says, well, my live show's happening in a half an hour. I better make my coffee right now at the same time and wash these few dishes. I made my coffee, made a few dishes, and I thought, oh, but I'm always so thirsty. I need my ice cubes and my diet Sprite with my Concord grapefruit or grape juice. And I fixed that. And then I says, oh my goodness, I looked at the clock and it was quarter after seven. I says, oh my goodness, I got my timings down packed, wiped my counter, ate my burger, went to my cupboard, got some clothes, jumped in the shower. I had a shower. And then I came in and I hit that live button. I went, oh my goodness, Cindy. And I was giggling to myself. I says, you were just motoring for the past half an hour. And here you are, probably for the first time in months, right on the button, coming in right in the button. Hello. Hello, Tammy. Hello, Owen. I hope you guys are doing good, not running around like chickens with your head chopped off like I was. And it wasn't really any little panic in it or anything, but it was a matter of thinking, oh, after my live show, I could just crawl into my pajamas and have an hour for myself. Not that I didn't have the whole day for myself. Oh my goodness. Some of the content that I was in today, oh my goodness. And eating, oh my goodness. I got into this bread, ciabatta bread. I don't know if you guys have ever had it before, but oh my goodness, absolutely delicious. And I got little ciabatta buns and I cut them in half and I had like peanut butter on them. And I thought those were the most amazing things ever. Oh, you've had it. Do you like that kind of bread? I'm somebody who does like the really authentic breads. I really do. I love sourdough bread. I love the seed breads and the rye bread. I don't like pumpernickel. That's the one thing. My mother loved pumpernickel bread. Oh my goodness, I did not like that bread. It wasn't good for anything as far as I was concerned. But for the most part, I do really love trying bread from different cultures, right? Different types of bread. And I do believe I've had this bread, but like in a kind of a sub kind of situation. And it didn't taste anything as amazing as this little gourmet ciabatta buns that I was eating. But oh my goodness. Yeah, so I was all over those today. Made myself um, uh, an egg sandwich, but on a hamburger bun, and that was amazing. Like I said, I was like a little eating monster today, but it was kind of nice. It was kind of nice to treat myself well, and I enjoyed the day immensely. And I think in the end, that's all that matters, is that you're smiling and you're feeling good at the end of the day. I have to say, though, I went to the drugstore yesterday, and while I was at the drugstore, they have these blood pressure machines. And I stuck my arm in the blood pressure machine, and it said 168 over 78. And then I looked at the chart along the side, and they said that anything over 140 was considered high blood pressure. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming somebody in here understands the blood pressure system. like I I'm not big on doctors, and unless I'm not feeling well, I'm not usually searching out that help. But when I saw my blood pressure was in that number range of having high blood pressure, I went, oh my goodness, this machine must be wrong. And then in my head, I'm going, oh, but I did wake up this morning and I just felt like going back to bed today. This is what I'm thinking to myself. So I ran over to the grocery store, and in their drug pharmacy area, they also have one of those blood pressure machines. And so I took my time and I slowed and I did a couple of ohms, to calm the system down. Because I thought, well, maybe I ran too fast to the drugstore. I am pretty active, that maybe I booted her a little bit too fast. So I went to the grocery store and I wanted to recheck my blood pressure, and it was exactly the same. I think it was 168 over 78 at both places, and they said anything over 140 was high blood pressure. I don't know. I'm a bit of a mover, but, I'm also somebody who is quite active for their age. I would think I would consider myself pretty active for my age. I'm usually on my bike. I'm usually going for walks, and not little, just short walks. I'm going for pretty long walks. And I know that I'm pretty active because people always comment about, are you done for the day, whenever they see me in and out of the apartment. Are you done for the day, Cindy? Or my sisters, like, I have to say, me and my sister, we actually had a pretty good talk. We decided that every Wednesday that we're going to spend a couple of hours together during the afternoon. I'm optimistic, that in that company, in that, she is kind of constricted to the house. She's not able to get out and stuff, that company would cheer her up a little bit. And we all know that stress is 75% of, how we feel, right? And I thought in her recovery, because she has been going through it, she's like so many things in the past half a dozen years, and she's just been knocking them off the list. Like it's a bucket list of crappy things, unfortunately. But she's just going to battle with every single one of them, and she's knocking them out. But when you get in those state when things are not going well. I came out of that state myself, and it was bad. It was scary. I'm grateful I had my good health through the process. But that stress and that loneliness, that worry, always batting at you. And in the end, it does wear you down. It might not take you out. It didn't take me out. Like I said, she's checking things off of her bucket list of crappy things. I'm checking things off of my own list of crappy things, right? But it's different. Each one of us is different. And you guys hear me say all the time, we are all handicapped. Every single one of us in this world is handicapped, and we're battling something, whether it's emotionally or physically, right? Or mentally. And I'm just going to put that category of economically, because that wears us down mentally and it wears us down emotionally. So there's no reason for that to be on that list. It's only those three things: physically, mentally, emotionally. Every single person in this world is struggling with one of those, right? And, but they shouldn't come in runs that last for years, right? Especially if you're somebody who normally takes care of yourself. And I understand, illnesses and diseases and accidents. They do happen. That's part of life. But when you got runs like that, like, when things are just coming one after another, and, we all have those seasons. We all have those seasons, but it does wear us down emotionally. And when we become worried and stressed, that compounds how we're feeling physically, and also, you guys hear me all the time about talking about the negative. Once you get in that negative state, it's really hard to climb out of a negative state. It really is really quite difficult to crawl out of a negative space that we get in ourselves. And not only that, in the run of those crappy things that come into our lives, right? It brings us even further down because mentally and emotionally we are dwelling on these things. And you guys know what you think about is realized. Where you give your energy, where you give your thoughts to, those things, it's true, it's 100% true that those things just become more difficult to handle. They become worse, right? They become worse, become more compounded, and we get more. So the idea was, to help my sister to get out of this slump, because that's what she's gotten herself into. It's been going on for way, way, way too long now. And, I am. I admittedly, right? I am that. And so me and my sister, we agreed that once a week we're going to get together and, we're going to have chit chats and keep each other company and sit out on the balcony. Maybe I'll run us coffees, go get us coffees or make us something nice for lunch. And we'll have a nice visit. And in that chit chat, maybe we can make a little bit of movement for both of us, right? Heal in relationships, heal in our misunderstandings, heal in that negative aspect about ourselves that sometimes it drills in so deep that we drill in so deep. And so it's time, you guys, right, for all of us to surface from the issues that get compounded in our life and be able to have a little bit of that sunshine come in. I think it's time for all of us. And when I say all of us, I just don't mean us here. Hello, Earl. Hello, Andrew. I don't just mean us here, right? But I mean everybody, right? Because we bring people down, don't we, when we're not feeling good. Even if we don't mean to bring people down, people still worry about us, right? And in worrying about us, sometimes we want to keep each other company, right? We do. And it's not supposed to be misery loves company. It's not supposed to be that because if misery loves company, then it's misery all around. But if somebody has a little bit more lightness in their life, there's no reason why we can't share it, right? We don't take energy, but that doesn't mean that we can't receive energy, right? Like a gift. In my case, sometimes like a little bit of an irritant because my sunshine does irritate, right? Lots of times when you're not feeling good and then you see other people, have that energy that you don't have or have that abundance in their life that you don't have. It makes you sad. It brings you down, right? And bringing it down, you're just asking for more. But not only that, we bring the people around us down too. And so that's something to recognize. So I think one day a week, like my sister says, one day a week is good. Sundays or Wednesdays is a good day for a visit. So we're going to go over and visit. And I know it's going to be good. And the reason I said I even got into that conversation was the fact that this past Wednesday when I came to visit her, we had a little it was only a few sentences, but sometimes you don't have to say much. Sometimes you just have to say those couple of sentences and it sits, you know what I mean? And it's a little bit of food for thought, and I rode my bike to her apartment, and I brought the bike into the in so it wouldn't get stolen out in the hallway. So I brought it into her apartment. She goes, "Oh, you rode all the way here?" And I says, "Yeah, it was absolutely just a beautiful ride. I enjoyed it immensely, even though it was raining. I enjoyed it immensely, right? Driving down the street with the big Dutch elm trees like a tunnel, and driving down the street and just enjoying the ride, being grateful for my good health, but at the same time, kind of feeling it, right? It was my longest bike ride this year, and I was feeling it, and I still, even though I rode my bike to her place, I still had to ride it home. And I told her so. I says, "Oh," she says, "I'm so jealous, Cindy. Oh, I'm just so jealous. I'm here in my cast." And I said, "Tracy," and I said the little spiel about the negativity, just bringing more negativity until it gets to the point where you can't crawl out of the bucket. But I also told her, jealousy is not really a good thing, because jealousy is wishing somebody didn't get to have that one thing that you see that they have that you wish was yours, right? You know, envy, it's kind of the same word. And then I said to her, I told her, like throughout my entire life, I always saw my friends with boyfriends, and, I want boyfriends myself, but, I was kind of crushed in my personality. I was shy and introverted and overweight and felt terrible about myself. I made a better friend. Well, I would have made a great girlfriend too. I know that because I have been a great girlfriend. I have been a great wife, right? I had those qualities, but I just didn't feel it at the time. Also, I saw, my friends and my family get these really high paying jobs. I had great jobs too, but my jobs were built around my life for fun, right? My friends and my family, with big fancy cars and trucks and beautiful houses. And I've never owned my own home in my entire life. But the thing is, I never begrudged anybody by that. There was no jealousy in that. I would never want to take from somebody and leave them in a state where they didn't have for themselves. I wouldn't wish that their situation was my situation. Maybe I worded that wrong, because of course I wanted the boyfriends. Of course I wanted the cars. Of course I wanted a beautiful home and fancy vacations. But I got to live the life that worked for me, right? That made it so that I could have a life that was worth living. Because if I had those fancy cars and those expensive houses and those fancy holidays, I would have really had to have bust my butt. I would have had to go to university and college to other people's bums to, right? And of course, there's that idea that we don't all rub each other. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm grateful that I'm your cup of tea, but I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And some of us just attract that naturally, right? And we would much prefer not to have to deal with that. So I always chose jobs that would give me that extra money, but that extra money never stayed with me because I was a compulsive gambler. So it was always like I was destitute no matter what. But I never begrudged anybody ever in whatever they had achieved in their own lives, whatever those little gifts or bonuses or treats they had. And even on occasion, it was shared, right? Sometimes I would be a recipient because somebody, made a little bit extra money that week or was going to the movie and they recognized that I didn't have the money to go to the movie, that they would treat me to the movie or treat me to an outing or something. And but that was the way that I grew up, right? And that was kind of the idea. I didn't felt like I was entitled to those things, so why beat myself up over it? Was kind of the idea going on. But still, I would never use that word jealousy in reference to that topic, right? When I see somebody who has something that they don't and then begrudge them for it, right? Say something nasty or take something away or give them dirty looks, right? And it was kind of neat, right? That, and I only did it in a couple of sentences, you guys. It wasn't like I was preaching or anything. Maybe it was a little bit, but just only in a few sentences it was. And then it was ended. It was done. But I could tell on her face that it hit. Didn't hit hard. Didn't hit like it hurt. It hit in a huh, it hit like that with her. And so I thought, oh my goodness, that's so amazing. I just absolutely love that. Because if she can distinguish the difference between, jealousy, envy, and just feeling bad because they don't have what somebody else has, right? And I said to her, Tracy, it's not like I don't have my problems. I got problems too, right? We all got problems. We all got handicaps. I said, right? But it's just keeping that good cheer. It's keeping optimistic attitude that things will get better. Because if you don't have that attitude, things are not going to get better. And I know that by my own experience in my own life. And jealousy is a crappy thing to have, right? To be resentful. It's kind of like shooting up spells at people, right? Oh, look at their nice car. What did they get their car for? And then it's kind of like, you're sending them bad mojo because, they worked hard and saved money and had good credit and was able to get themselves a nice car, right? And I've never been that person. Right? The only thing I could say is maybe I didn't think I was deserving of it. But even if I didn't think I was deserving of it, I would think the possibility of still having jealousy and envy would have been highly up there that I might have that. But for whatever reason, it just never, ever was an aspect of myself. And I think maybe, maybe it was one of the reasons I got invited to this party, right? But I'm appreciative of it. And it's a good lesson, and I think it adds on to that, keeping you emotionally and mentally um even keel, right? Not all depressed and angry and stuff. You have a little bit more optimism in that. Okay, let's come into the comments for a little bit here. Or drink your special great drink, Cindy. You are busier than all get out. Yeah, tomorrow I'm going to take a walk to the walk-in clinic and see if they're taking new patients. I don't have a family doctor. I think as I'm getting more mature, it's time. If my blood pressure is up there, it's probably something that I should check into, right? Especially when I am spending so much time out on the trails and going for these walks and these bike rides and stuff. And my walks aren't even little walks. My walks are long walks, right? And so I want to make sure that, I don't mind taking medication at all. Not saying that I have to, but I'm just saying that if I have to take medication, I'll take medication. I know that congenital heart disease runs in my family, and I can't just let my ego and pride say, I have good health and then it be something different. I'm only human. We're all only human, right? None of us is Superman or Superwoman, and I shouldn't be running around the world pretending that I am, right? Well, running around the world, running around the city, pretending that I am. And it's my responsibility to take care of myself, and all of it takes is blood pressure pills, then that's okay, right? I just don't want to get locked into the system. Andrew, did you get a date for your operation at all on your legs, or do you still have to be on a waiting list for your operation? I sure love my grape. It's a different grape juice. I was using the grape cranberry juice, and it was good, but I thought that if I used grape juice, and they had that grape juice that they use for when you eat the crackers at church, and that little grape juice to represent the wine, they had that kind in the ethnic aisle. So I grabbed a big, well, it wasn't the ethnic aisle, it was with the juices, but it was kosher, I think, almost, right? So I got a great big container of it, so it would last me at least a couple of weeks, I would hope, right? Because I am mixing it with Diet Sprite, but I really enjoy it, and I don't have to use as much grapefruit juice as I or grapefruit grape juice as I use the cranberry grape juice, right? Um, no, I wasn't. I'm always walking fast. Well, that's not true. I like to mosey, but, sometimes, especially this week when it was intermittent rain, and you have to catch it when the rain stops, get out there, get what you need done, and get home before the rain starts, right? I took my umbrella with me, but it didn't rain while I was out on my chores. But I think, yes, probably I was moving pretty fast. But if I'm moving pretty fast, then, a little bit of exertion on a trail would give me the same amount of high blood pressure like that. So I think it's better that I get it checked out. And it was kind of a signal for me too. I had it checked out twice, but within 15 minutes of each other, because I went from the drugstore to the grocery store. I was going to go today to the grocery store, but I didn't have any reason to go to the store, except to get a little walk in and to maybe check my blood pressure. But, I didn't today. But I did have it on my mind that maybe tomorrow I will go to the walk-in clinic, seeing if they take new patients. I don't mind going in as a walk-in patient, but I would kind of like to have a doctor who knows me, that has my medical history on file. So it's important, and they're very getting very technical in this digital age. My sister lost her driver's license again. Uh, they looked at her history and her medical, and she's had a lot of stuff been going on medically, right? So they kind of said, I don't think so. We're just going to make sure that she's okay before we give her license back. And she was pretty excited about getting her license back, and it brought her down a little bit. So, hence why I'm going to spend a little bit more time with her and see if we could just cheer her up a little bit, right? And in that process, I'm going to do what I have to do to make sure that I'm good. I'm good too, right? Um, yeah, so Wednesdays, once a week, get together, just have a little bit of a visit. Oh, you're having liver and onions tonight, Earl. Do you make the liver and onions or do you go to a restaurant for liver and onions? I make amazing liver and onions with mashed potatoes and gravy and green beans. It always seems that those three things go really well with the liver and onions dinner. I don't eat liver myself. Yeah. Liver is not my thing. Mind you, my mother was pretty sneaky when we were kids. She'd throw liver in a blender with an onion, and then she would pour it into the frying pan, and she called them flat burgers. We loved flat burgers. We didn't realize it was actually liver. She was pretty sneaky in making these pancake looking burgers, but we really did enjoy the liver, which was what she called flat burgers, and we believed her. We believed her. But what a great way to get liver into your kids' diet, right? Because the little kids, they have no idea. If you pulled out liver from a package and threw it in a frying pan, they probably go, ugh, right? Right? Growing up, my dad would have liver and onions every once in a while. You couldn't get me to touch that stuff, but you threw a couple of flat burgers in front of me, oh man, I'd be chowing those things down, right? We loved flat burgers. It's such a great idea in all actuality. Any parents out there that are trying to get their kids to eat liver, it's a great way to get your kids to eat liver, and also economically to get those nutrients into the kids. Uh, Nowadays you walk up and down those grocery aisles, there's not much real nutrients going down, right? I'm trying to look at ways to make my diet a little bit better, right? A little bit more healthy. I did grow up in the 60s and 70s, and we were pretty low income, and it was what was cheapest was what we were going to eat. We were just kind of lucky that dad was a meat and potatoes kind of guy. So, quite often, even if we couldn't afford it, there would be, a roast beef or, a pork shoulder roast or something going on, or pork chops going on. But this day that we live in, meat is so expensive, right? And the kids aren't getting enough protein, right? And you know we can be creative and find ways to introduce more beans and more, I don't know, I guess it would be beans, but you'd have to get the meat into you. And liver is a great way to do it because liver is very inexpensive. When you look at meat, liver is very inexpensive. Also, turkeys. If you have a big family, you buy a turkey. You can make a turkey go a very long way. You can make soups and sandwiches. You can have turkey dinner the first night. Like, wow, right? And turkey salad, like there's so many things, you can make quesadillas with it. Just be creative. You can make a turkey last you the whole week. Sometimes my mother would buy those great big smoked hams, and we love smoked hams, and they're not very expensive right now. I mean, yes, $20 or $25, but a big smoked ham, right? You can have ham and cheese omelets. You can have ham sandwiches. You can make a pea soup with ham, right? You can have a ham dinner. There's lots of things. You can make a ham, right? Stretch out quite a ways to I don't know if there are YouTubers or anything out there who are creative in that way of getting recipes that are healthy but very, very inexpensive. You know, if my mother had a YouTube channel, she'd be like a superstar in inexpensive meals because she quite often had to be very, very creative. You know, she had a family of six to feed and she didn't have much money to do it. And you guys know a little bit of the story of my family about my dad being a compulsive gambler and having a big family of six, right? That's an expensive outpouring of money just in that because you want your kids to have what you didn't have, right? And lots of times my dad would throw money at us when he didn't have it. And that's the truth. But he was very creative in his own right. Like there were always adventures. There were going fishing and going to walk the trails. They were going for Sunday drives, going to the drive-in and going to the drive-in the kids got in free so he would just pay for two tickets and they go in and we watch movies all night long and then fall asleep in the back seat of the car, right? And it would be an outing for all of us. Like my dad was very creative with the outings and my mother was very creative with the meals. And in the end, we all got through. Mind you, we all had weight issues, right? We weren't very good eaters, but because it was the roller coaster, right? The roller coaster in the meals and stuff. And it was all dependent on the budget. Also, both my parents worked. My dad was away lots. My mother had a full-time job for the most part. Quite often she wasn't home. And we were left to our own demise. I say it gleefully because, there was no conflict in the house, right? And when we had free reign like that, but we didn't eat very well, right? And but in this day that we live in, it's much worse, right? It's much worse. I'm looking at the screen on my if you guys don't mind me for 1 minute. Oh, that's not going to do it. Um, the sun is coming down, or the sun is coming down, so it's shining right into my window here. Let's put this down and see if the. Oh, much better, you guys. There, that's much better. Um, uh, yeah, this day and age, it's really hard to put food on the table, and especially with income houses, because quite a few, right? When I grew up, it was two income houses that women's lib just started, and women started going to work right away, and those two incomes made a big difference in the economy, made a big difference in the upbringings of family. But now we're in that situation now where marriages and relationships are not holding out the way they used to, right? That responsibility and that accountability really isn't there unless you want to take people to court, right? And then when you take people to court, well, that causes a whole can of beans right there because you're stirring up the aggression and you're stirring up a situation that was maybe just a sad moment, right? That your marriage is falling apart into a battle, right? Into something that becomes a bit of a war zone and the kids pick up on that too, right? The kids pick up on that too. Yeah. I don't know where that conversation, but about taking care of ourselves a little bit. For me, it was a little bit of a wake up call. I stopped. I used to take my blood pressure every week. Every time I went to the grocery store or to the pharmacy, I always took my blood pressure. But, in that mentality of being grateful for my good health and not having normally the aches and pains, and then you see how your sisters struggle and stuff, and it just makes you more grateful that it kind of puts you in the mentality of I'm superwoman, right? I'm superwoman, and I just have to recognize that I am human, and it's my responsibility to take care of myself, right? But it's all our responsibilities to take care of ourselves, right? It's not all good genes because I don't come from a family on either side that had good genes. Well, not in that idea of good genes anyway, but in our health, in our right, there was lots of disease. On my father's side, there was the the congenital heart failure, and up until my grandfather, everybody passed away in their 40s. That's why I'm so amazed that other than one sister, we're all in our 60s now, which is absolutely crazy to think that we all made it into our 60s because that's unheard of, right? Oh, and I also have an aunt that I still think is here. She's 6 years older than me, but I would suspect that we would get word if something was not going well with her. But yeah, it's this is the first generations that, right? It is in that dynamics and introducing strengths, not just illnesses into our genetics. We're adding strengths into our genetics too. My mother's side, she had the rheumatoid arthritis and she had the diabetes, right? And all three of those, the heart failure, the diabetes, and the arthritis is very prevalent in my family. I'm grateful, right, that it kind of jumped me, but who's to say, right? I might go to that walking clinic tomorrow. It might be a totally different story, right? And I've got to do my part. I just can't assume that everything is hunky dory, right? Yeah. Okay, let me come down here a little bit. Uh, you've never owned a house or a car either. I've had cars. I've had lots of cars. I've had one, two, I've had three new cars, and I've had a ton of beaters, a ton of beaters, right? But I've only had three new cars. Uh, my first car, I drove it until the frame. It was a Chevy Tracker, and I drove it until the frame fell apart, all rusted. So it cost more to repair the frame than to fix it. So then I bought my Chevy Trax, which was supposed to be the new edition of the Chevy Tracker. It was a beautiful little car, super good on gas, but it didn't look anything or act anything like my Tracker. Yeah, I really loved my Tracker. I wish they made those again. It was a great little vehicle. Yeah, all the way around. Then that car died, and then I had the Mitsubishi Outlander. Oh my goodness, that was a fantastic vehicle too. That was the one that I used on my trips when I first started going out on the road. I could set it up like an RV, had lots of room on it. It was not as good on gas as my other two vehicles, but what a pleasure to drive. Oh my goodness. I just love that vehicle. And then, yeah, I went to Toronto without telling my sister. She took it away from me, right? We're going to send some good cheer out to the fire trucks. Let them go to their destination. Let it be a false alarm. They could turn around, go right back to the station, and everything will be okay. Yeah. I live behind a fire station. They go by all the time. I only heard them a couple of times today. One of those times they were in front of my building, but this was the first time that I heard them tonight. But if you ask Tammy, she hears them all the time. Sometimes I don't catch them every time because I live behind the station because they're so common that quite often I miss it, right? It just doesn't catch my attention, and then Tammy will bring it to my attention in my live show or something. You'll go, "Oh, did I miss that one?" Right? Because it becomes the norm, right? It becomes the norm. Uh a house and/or a car would be financial burdens, and I don't want either one. I've been able to do without, though more accessible transportation would be would be nice, especially when you have your brother and stuff. I don't know if you take him for doctor's appointments and things, Andrew, if his caregivers help him out with that. But I did appreciate my vehicles. It took me out at the knees. If you guys have been with me for any length of time, it took me out at the knees. I don't grumble. I don't complain about it. And I don't begrudge my sister doing that. I purposely didn't tell her I was going to Ontario just because I knew she wouldn't be happy about it because she expected that I was going to be working, right? And I had my heart set on going to a workshop. And I said, as soon as I get back from the workshop, I'll go to work. And I kept that word to myself. As soon as I finished the workshop, I did get right back into a program and get right back to work. But my sister wasn't willing to wait for that. So she told me to sign the car over to her, which I did. And like I said, I didn't begrudge that, right? I didn't begrudge that. I just signed it back to her. And I didn't grumble and complain, even though it broke my heart. It actually scared me quite a bit because, you know, that was my lifeline to my channel, I thought, But in the end, it was a gift, right? Because it made me expand, it put me in a position because I couldn't explore the outdoors and I didn't want to do the little city parks, right? And I wanted to be out on the road. I wanted to do my urban exploring. I wanted to do my camping and my trails and stuff. And that idea of keeping my brand going, and because I was always already exploring the inside. It was just like when I started my YouTube channel, I was already urban exploring. So I started my YouTube channel and started filming my urban explorers, right? And they took off, and I went, oh, that's pretty cool. And so when I was looking for ways to keep my brand going when I lost my car and I couldn't get out onto the back roads, right? I added exploring the inside because I was already exploring the inside. You guys know I've been studying and working on emotions for years now. And and it was meant to be. I feel truly that it was supposed to work that way. So because if I had my car, I would have been out on the road. I would have been urban exploring. I would have been camping. And I'm not sure because in my goals and my dreams, I knew I couldn't do that forever. And so I was working in emotions, but just kind of when I wasn't out on the road. And when I lost the vehicle, oh my goodness, I didn't have much of a choice. It was either delve in deeper, take it seriously, see what we can do with this. And then once I was in it deep, it was something I just couldn't let go. Right? And also I adapted and conquered, you guys, didn't I? Because I still did my provincial park tours, didn't I? And I rent these great big fancy vehicles, and I'd be out in these spots, and every year I would have 7 outdoor explorers at the very minimum to add to my channel. If you guys haven't seen any of my outdoor explores. Like I've got so many things going on in when it comes to exploring the outside, and it was just in my creativity and my determination not to lose my channel, not to give up, right? That I adapted, I conquered, and I found a way. And that way was to explore the inside. And I think it served me well. And I would like to think that it serves others, that it helps others, it brightens other people's lives up, makes it a little bit lighter, keeps them from being in that negative. That's the whole idea, right? Because I was in that state. I was that person who was in the negative. And it's really, really hard to be positive and to reflect that positive, especially for me. I couldn't hide anything. When I wasn't feeling good, you would know I wasn't feeling good, right? Because that was the person that I was. But I'm pretty proud of myself that I didn't allow losing my vehicle to take me out, right? And it was really sad. And I would do anything to have that vehicle back. But you can't cry over spilt milk. You can't make yourself miserable, right? You got to ride those waves. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I tell you, it was that when it came to this channel, because I was able to spend more time with you guys, right? And I was able to expand in myself and have a better understanding of myself and give myself that opportunity, possibly, right? To make a little bit of movement down the road, right? Yeah. Okay, let's come down here. Your blood pressure could have been high if you were walking or riding a bike, Cindy. Yeah. Um, I wasn't riding, maybe I was riding the bike the day before, but I didn't really overexert myself. And I was up, or I did sleep good. So I did get up that morning and I was pretty white, but it could have been that. But it's better to have a better understanding, because if I don't go to the walk-in clinic, if I don't have it checked out, if I don't take care of it, it's going to be in the back of my mind, isn't it? And what you think about is realized. And if I'm thinking something is not good, maybe something not good is going to arise from that. That's just the person that I am. Oh, you still have to have your hips x-rayed. Then a phone appointment with a doctor. No dates yet for the surgery. It may not be for months. Well, at least you know that it's coming, that you could stockpile a little bit of money, Andrew, to get yourself prepared, right? To take care of yourself in that process, so that when you're really out for the count, right? Because it'll be a good 6 weeks to 2 months before you're walking around good again, right? That it will ease up on that stress and that worry, and you won't try to get back to work too early because of that. Oh, you cook all your meals, Earl. Oh my goodness, yum. Yeah, I cook all I cook all my meals too, unless I'm that person who decides to go down those aisles and find something that's already processed and made for myself. But we're going to see if we can switch that around a little bit. I don't know if I can become a salad girl. This week I've been eating like lots of cucumber and stuff, but on the norm, I'm not a big vegetable person. But yeah, I was thinking, I'd maybe introduce some more vegetables. Oh, I bought carrots, so I could make a stew, right? I did. So I'm thinking of more healthy meals to eat to be healthier in the meals. But then again, that's that budget too that you got to work with. Wow, I couldn't believe looking at the prices of the meat. I saw little steaks that were this big, you guys, for $30. For $30, a little steak like this, $30. Absolutely crazy. Yeah. And I looked at the T-bones and they were like $60 for a T-bone steak. And the T-bone steaks were my dad's favorite steak. Whenever he had steak, it was always the T-bone, unless he was making Swiss steak. In that case, he would use sirloin, right? But he loved his T-bones, and he would never ever pay $50 for a T-bone steak unless he was getting it served with some guy in a black suit with a towel on his arm. uh, Cindy, I can't mail my Irish soda bread to you, but maybe I could send you the bread or the recipe. Oh my goodness, I love Irish soda bread too. Oh my goodness, Andrew, yes, mail that recipe to me, Andrew, if you don't mind. I would love that recipe. I would absolutely love that recipe. Um, I've Andrew says I've never tasted it, but I'm curious about deer meat. Ugh, there's another one, deer meat. My husband used to go hunting, and we were allowed to take down two deers, and he would go hunting, and I wouldn't allow him to bring the deers to the house, but he would take them straight to the butchers, and they would make sausages, ground meat, stew meat, little roast and chops and steaks and stuff. And they would paper wrap them all for me and label them. And my husband bought me a big upright freezer. It looked like a refrigerator, but it was a freezer. And that whole thing was full. Man, did that save money, Andrew. That saved us so much money because my husband ate a lot of meat too, and he loved the wild meat. And he would always invite his friends over for dinner if I was, because I had some really great recipes. I could make deer chili and stews and yeah, he loved the wild meat, and it saved a lot of money. Like, it saved a lot of money. I think his licenses like cost him $50, and he was allowed to go out and you know get himself a couple of deers, and then it cost him $100 a deer to butcher. So that's really really good deal. But yeah, I didn't like wild meat at all. I've never liked wild meat. Um, we lived on a farm for a little while, and it was a cold day, and my dad hung a little heater from the ceiling, and all the chickens tried to get to the heater, and they were all fighting each other. And when my mother went in to feed the chickens, it was all like war going on in the chicken coop, and she lost a lot of chickens, and she came home with her the chickens were upside down in her hand, and she was so angry, and she just slammed the chickens on the table, and everything just kind of flew out, like exploded out of these chickens, and she was so angry, right? And it really terrorized me because these were live animals and we were going to be eating them. And I remember bawling my eyes out because I couldn't eat them. And then shortly after that, she brought some rabbits into the house and slapped them on the table. And these rabbits were already passed away, but they popped out baby rabbits when they were on the table, right? And and then that was it for me for meat. After that, I could only eat like wieners and sausages and hamburgers, things that didn't look like animals. And it used to drive my family crazy because my dad say, "Okay, take out dinner tonight. What do you guys want?" And everybody would scream, "Kentucky Fried Chicken!" And it was my Lisa because I would be the one going, "Pizza, pizza." And they would all go, "Kentucky Fried Chicken." And then those buckets of chicken would come, and I could only eat the white meat on the chicken, but I would only pick the skin off the chicken and a little bit of the white meat off the chicken because I once the chicken became discolored, like if I could see a vein or I saw a bone or something, it would turn me right off. But that was kind of being traumatized as a kid, right? with these with these farm animals that came into the household. And then after that, I just couldn't do wild meat after that. I don't think ever, not even going fishing and eating fresh fish or anything. I couldn't do any of that. I don't even fish, you guys, right? And yeah, it's just not my thing. And even now, I have problem. Like I can do Swiss steak and I can do stew, but they have to be cooked for so long that they just fall apart, right? That melt in your mouth kind of thing. So it doesn't really feel like it's meat anymore because it's all mixed up with vegetables and rice or mashed potatoes and stuff, right? But even at Christmas time at turkey dinner, I could just do white meat. I couldn't do chicken wings or turkey legs or dark meat or anything like that. If my mother made turkey soup next day after Christmas with leftovers, right? Because she would just put all kinds of turkey stuff going on there, blubber and veins and dark meat. I just couldn't. I just couldn't do it, right? But we're all different that way, right? And I just look at it in ways that different cultures eat things differently. In China they eat dogs and they eat snakes, right? And we could say ugh, right? But for them that's quite common. The number one meat in the entire world that people consume to eat is lamb. I don't think I've ever had lamb in my entire life, right? I don't think ever, right? And, but it's the number one consumed meat, protein in the world. And, here in North America, lamb isn't super popular. Do you guys drink or eat lamb, you guys? Do you guys do like lamb steaks or anything like that? And if you do you do it often or is it just every once in a while? You know, Even in the grocery store, when we go to a grocery store, they sell lamb chops. They do sell lamb chops, but it's such a little teeny weeny section. There might be maybe six packages at the very most in comparison to the whole aisle of beef and then the whole aisle of pork, right? I like beans too. I really, really do like beans. Um, I like I like black beans and red beans. Last week I made a homemade yellow pea soup. It was really good. I didn't have any meat to put in it, but the soup was absolutely amazing. It took forever for the peas to cook in it because they have to just turn to mush, right? But they were that soup was absolutely delicious. Um, Lentil soup, I haven't been a big fan of lentil soup only because I don't think it has a lot of flavor, right? But you know, everybody has a little bit of a different taste when it comes to that thing. Beans are a staple meal for you too. You too, eh, Owen? Yeah, I like beans. Pork and beans. I love pork and beans. But the price of pork and beans have doubled in the past few years. You want a good smack in the face with inflation. All you have to look at is the pork and beans. That's where I noticed the prices of groceries going really high. And the dairy section too. But here in Manitoba, they kind of put a lock on pricing when it comes to the staples like milk and eggs and stuff. So you still can get those at decent prices, but the prices don't go higher, they don't go lower. You don't often see specials in them, right? Uh oh, you don't hardly eat any meat also. And it is expensive. I get enough protein by eating all kinds of beans. I feel good eating them too, health wise. They're good for the system. They keep you regular, keep your whole system regular. They'll help you to make sure that everything is moving really, really well, right? Really good for the digestive system. Um, Lamb is good but rich. I wouldn't eat a lot of it at once. Oh, it is rich. Interesting. I would never thought to describe lamb like that, but then again, I've never eaten lamb. But now that you say is rich, I'm trying to think what kind of meat out there would I consider to be rich? None. I couldn't put a label on anything that would say, oh, this meat is very rich. I would maybe say that with some dairy products. I would say it with like chocolate and stuff like that, right? Or very like a cheesecake or something. I can't imagine saying that with the meat. So it makes me curious that you say that. Um, Lamb is good but rich. I wouldn't eat a lot of it at once. Okay, Andrew, you are definitely not invisible with us here on Cindy's channel. I hear you. I think you are a great person, Andrew, and very intelligent. Yeah, he's a he's our smarty pants here. Yeah, we love Andrew. We love all you guys. Everybody brings a little bit of a different flavor, right? To our Sunday nights. That's how much I appreciate it. We've been together for so long, too. Uh, Depends on the owner, actually. Bought that one as a teen in 1971. Are we talking about a vehicle, Earl? I must have missed something there. I've eaten lamb maybe twice, from what I've been told. Lamb was once a popular dish amongst the Catholics at a certain times. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because they eat a lot of it in Europe, and I'm not sure about Asia, but Europe for sure. I know Asia, they like their pork, right? Um, but but yeah, lamb in like Great Britain is pretty popular, in Ireland and stuff like that. Yeah, but they're increasing their numbers when it comes to deer in Asia. Like they're trying to increase the wildlife. They're actually um, trying to reintroduce and save the Scottish wildcats, right, in Scotland. And I went and saw a documentary on it, and I didn't know they had wild cats in Scotland, and they're pretty cute actually. But yeah, they're going extinct, and so they've taken upon themselves to see if they can make it so that they're not extinct. There was another animal that I came across this week that they're trying to save. Oh, they found a turtle that is very similar to the last male turtle in existence. And I can't remember the name of the turtle, but they found another turtle, a female turtle. And even though it's not exactly the same because it's kind of like a hybrid, it's got some other kind of turtle in it too. It's so close. They're big. These turtles are like the biggest turtles in the entire world, right? But they're crossbreeding them, so they might be able to save that turtle. Yeah, I heard about that this week, but there was something else that they were trying to save too, and I can't remember what it is. And they were having great success in it. Was it something in a zoo? Was it the panda bear? It was maybe some kind of bear that they're trying to save. Yeah. Um, Thank you, Tammy. You've come a long way, and it's because of God's work in your life. Oh, that's beautiful. Just a couple of days ago, I fixed myself some ham and beans and cornbread. Oh, my goodness. I love cornbread. Do you make your own cornbread, Andrew? Do you make your own cornbread? Be interested to know that. Um, Yeah, the Muslims, they like their lamb bread too, right? And it's, when it comes to the Bible and stuff too, lamb has always been prevalent as a dish, right? And sheep are a staple for the farmers for raising too, and they've got the land to do it and the hills to take care of them. So they're very inexpensive livestock to raise, right? Lots of land to graze. I found that lamb, duck, no, and turkey are rich but delicious. Okay, so when you say duck and rich, I could relate to that only because I know duck is very, very greasy. So when you say rich, I can see what you're saying about lamb. Um, Oh, the Cubans. So that's in South America. They eat lots of lamb too. Isn't that interesting? And yet we don't eat a lot of lamb at all. I don't know about the smart, but has a lot of trivia knowledge. I like trivia knowledge. I do like that because when I come across the tidbits, I like to throw them out there. And then when other people they have those tidbits of information, they're great conversation starters. Lots of people they have difficulties in starting conversations with other people because lots of people are introverted, lots of people are shy, spend a lot of time on their own. And then when they meet people and they have an interest in them, they don't know how to bring up a conversation. And this was a lesson. Oh, I learned this lesson quite early, but I remember I used to use it quite a bit when I worked in a bar. It had virtual golf courses in these bars, and these guys would be really cute, and they would play golf in these great big cubicles in these virtual reality golf courses, and they would talk golf, and I would learn from their conversations a little bit about golf, which I should because I work in a bar that has virtual golf machines, right? And it helped me out quite often in being able to get into conversations. But it is important, for little tidbits if you can throw it out there because you never know what's going to interest somebody. Maybe nobody ever heard the wild cats of Scotland. And somebody goes, "What? Wild cats of Scotland? What are you talking about? Like bobcats or cougars or something?" And if you look at them, they actually look a little bit like a domestic cat, if you ask me, right? Maybe a cross between a bobcat and a domestic cat, but even a bobcat looks like a domestic cat, but I'm just saying a little bit larger cat. Yes, a car. You didn't say what kind of car. You're going to make me go up to the comments and find it. I know that because we had some Cuban friends and they invited us over for lamb once to eat. And the lady told us that in their culture, they eat a lot of lamb. I watch a lot of cooking shows and stuff, and there were a couple of people that would do those pilafs because I really like rice pilaf with the that's if I don't recognize the meat in it, like diced pork or beef or something, and it's mixed in with the rice and it's done on the stove, and then you flip the big pot upside down, and then you lift it up, and it's like the shape of the pot, right? Oh my goodness. I do love rice pilaf. I used to make it with, and I haven't done it for a long time. I should pick up some chicken breasts and make it again. I make a really good rice pilaf. I bet it would be really good with Tammy's beans and stuff. You mix the beans in with the rice and right, and saute the chicken in the pot, right? So that all the flavor from the chicken is burnt on the bottom, and you add the rice and your vegetables and your beans and pour the chicken stock over it and the water over it, and you let it come to a simmer, and then turn it off, and then let it sit for 20 minutes. Oh my goodness, that stuff is good. And you can make a big pot inexpensively, and you can make it last you a few meals, right? Yeah, chicken pilaf. I learned that one in cooking class in high school, I think. uh, let's come back here a little bit. That's awesome, Andrew. I am happy for you that you are feeling better that way. I will keep you in my prayers and thoughts. Thank you. Got the motorcycles going by. Yesterday I was sitting here and it was dark already, right? And I just had the kitchen light on, and I was looking and I could hear the little bells from a bike, but there were a lot of bells on bikes. So I looked out my window and it was some kind of bike and scooter kind of parade going on, because there must have been 100 bikers, not like motorcycle bikers, but like 10 speeds and mountain bikes, and parents with those little baskets in the back where the kids can sit in. And there were like lots of scooters and stuff, and the electric bikes, the e-bikes, right? And lots of them had like lights on their wheels, like, and it was like a parade. I don't know what they were doing. I should actually write that down, write it on my grocery list here, um, and so that I can Google it tonight and say what's going what's going on, what was going on with that, because they must have been trying to raise some money for something, or they were kind of bike riding for a cause, probably. I don't know what it was, but it was interesting. I got up out of my chair and I just kind of stood at the window and checked out all the bikes and the riders and stuff, and all the neat lights that they had strung on their wheels and stuff. A 67 Cougar. Oh my goodness, Earl, that sounds beautiful. A 67 Cougar. Let me Google that. I've been doing a lot of Googling today, specifically on different trailers. Um, 67 Cougar. See what that looks like. Wow, that's nice. What color is yours, Earl? Oh, you like the antiques. But yeah, what a nice vehicle. What a nice vehicle that is. Kind of looks like a car my dad had. Can't remember what the name of the car was. All I know is me and my dad, we went on a trip to Reno and we were only supposed to be gone for a few days and we were gone for a few weeks. He took me out of school and he was on a run. He was making lots of money. When he came home, he had expensive presents for the whole family. He had enough money to buy a vehicle, right? And to live high and mighty for a little while. And yeah, he did buy a vehicle and it looked very much like this one. It was his first vehicle. He was so proud of it. It was a beautiful car, I would think. Nowadays, I don't know. Well, they would call it a classic, right? Now. But back then, to me, it just looked like a dad car, right? It just looked like a dad car. But I remembered it had electric windows. It was the first one where you could push the button and the windows would go up and down. And I thought that was pretty cool. But he was pretty proud of that vehicle. He lost it in a poker game. But he held on to it for years. He held on to it for years. But yeah, I'm pretty sure my dad lost that vehicle in a poker game. Yeah. My dad liked to gamble, right? Mm, I just used the Jiffy brand mix, though I've also used an organic cornbread mix. Oh, they make that? I know they have the corn flour, and I thought, well, people just mix that in with regular flour and eggs and baking powder and make cornbread with that. I'll have to check the shelves to see if they have cornbread. In our bakery, you can buy little loaves, like you buy a package about this big, and they've got like six little cornbread muffins that look like little tiny loaves of bread, but they are so good. But I don't buy them because I can eat a whole package just in one sitting. That's how delicious they are. You don't put anything on them, do you? I know when I buy them, I don't put anything on them, but I don't know. I guess you could put butter on them, but or I don't know if people make them into sandwiches or anything like that, but they're they're kind of flaky. They're kind of more like of a muffin texture. So I'm assuming you just put butter on them, if anything. But for myself, I never put anything on them. But they were delicious and fairly inexpensive too. You can buy them for like $3 and you get like six of them in a package, right? But on television shows, and most of our television shows, they come from the States, right? So when you see in the television shows when the parents are making dinner and stuff, everybody's always having cornbread. If there's a barbecue, there's always cornbread. If there's a picnic, there's always cornbread, right? So I know cornbread is very popular in the States. Also, grits. We don't eat grits here up in Canada. To us, that just looks like porridge. But yeah, grits are, then you guys use grits like it's hash browns or mashed potatoes, right? It's just a filler for your breakfast, I think. But yeah, we don't eat grits up here in Canada. But that's the culture, right? Like different cultures eat different things, right? I wouldn't eat one of those world class super duper hot peppers from South America that burn your face off. I just couldn't do it. I have a couple of jalapenos in the freezer that I thought I would save if I was going to make a fried rice or something. I still haven't used them because I'm not a big fan of the really hot stuff. I do love banana peppers though. I eat banana peppers all the time, but that's something fairly new to me. Only in the past few years have I been eating banana peppers, but on the norm, I don't eat banana peppers. Not far from me is a state park with old fashioned mill, and you can buy authentic cornmeal. Oh, that's what it's called, not corn flour, cornmeal. Yeah, we can buy it in little bags here. I've seen it on the shelf in the flour section. Often I've never bought the corn flour, but maybe, right? I've got a recipe book that maybe I can find a cornbread recipe. I can even pull it up online. What am I talking about? We live in the digital age. I can just Google recipes for cornbread and pull it up. I hope Earl's letting me know what color his car is. Oh, it's okay. There it is. Light green, and upper white two tone. I like that. I got it right here. Um, this one here. Just see. Oh, Nancy just Googled me. Nancy says hi to everybody. I'm not checking her message right now, but like that one, Earl? Is that like the car that you have with the white on top and the light green on the bottom? Yeah, that's a pretty nice vehicle. Do you drive it? Does it drive good? I'll just delete that one. I don't want to save it. Okay, let's see what Nancy says. Nancy says, "Hi, Cindy. Just wanted to let you know that at the end of April, I had a freak accident in my kitchen where I was hit by a blender blade, and you're still recovering." Oh, she had to have emergency surgery, so I'm sending pics of my injuries too. Oh, I'm not going to take a look at her photos because she didn't give me permission to show you guys that. But I'm sending some good cheer to Nancy. Oh my goodness, I was thinking of Nancy this morning too. There's a little serendipity for you because I was actually thinking, oh my goodness, I haven't heard from Nancy in a long time, right? And there she is. She's messaging me tonight. I'm sorry that, but a ninja blade. She had an accident with a ninja blade. That's kind of scary. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Tammy, I don't know if you've met Nancy yet. She doesn't pop in as often as she used to, but she used to be here every single night. She lives in Seattle. She's low income, and she doesn't like commercials, and she gets frustrated on YouTube because she's lost a couple of her own YouTube channels. She really likes trains. She her hobby is working with setup. She does these big setups on ping pong tables and stuff for her trains, and she celebrates during the holidays and puts on little shows and stuff with her trains by making villages and stuff. Yeah, Nancy's a sweetheart. She's been with us. She's been with us for years. Yeah. Yeah, she's been with us for years, but now she watches the live from her phone, and just every once in a while she'll send me a comment on my phone. But I haven't heard from her in a couple of months actually. I haven't heard from Nancy in a couple of months. So it's, yeah, model train. She likes model trains. But she's watching, but she's watching on her phone, right? And yeah, so she's not really participating, but yeah, I'll have to take a look at the pictures that she sent me, and I'll let you guys know next week how she's doing because I'll message her and have a little chit chat and see how she's doing. Oh, a darker green than that, like an olive green. Um, Aw, thank you, you guys. I love it that you guys take care of Nancy like that. Nancy's taken care of me, and she's taken care of us for years, hasn't she? She's had a pretty rough run too, you know, and not just in the past few years, but for pretty much her entire life. And she's got the most amazing attitude. She's such a diehard. Nothing takes that woman, nothing takes that woman down, right? You You put her down and she's just going to jump right up like a jack in a box, brush her knees off. Well, jack in a box doesn't have knees, does it? But she would. You knock her down, she'd jump right up and she'll get right back at it, right? And, when things go badly, she does everything. Like, she treats herself so well. Like, when we talk about self love, right? That woman really does love herself. She is such the best advocate for herself that I could ever imagine that anybody could be, right? Yeah, yeah. So I'm sending Nancy some good cheer too. Yeah. You guys, I just looked at the clock right at 9 o'clock on the button. And guess what? I made all the comments. How many weeks has that been now? 4 weeks? 4 weeks now that I have stayed on top of the comments. You guys know once I get into that flow that I'm usually in it. And then I have to backtrack for like 15 minutes before my live show is over to catch up on what everybody is saying. But it's been kind of nice being able to include myself in the conversation and not after the fact, right? Like, I feel like I'm part of the conversation instead of just somebody who's just blabbering away. Even though I'm the one just blabbering away, I'm in it with you guys too, and I really appreciate that more and more. We'll see if next week we can make it number 5. I'm not making any promises in that. But next Sunday, I'll let you know, right? I'm committed. We're going to do the doctor thing. We'll see if Cindy can get a new family doctor that will be my permanent doctor. I could do walk-in clinics, like I said, but I would like a family doctor that would be able to get to know me, get to know how my body is running and stuff, that would recognize when things aren't going well. I'm sure everything is good, but I can't expect that everything is going to be good right till the very end, right? So, just like Nancy, I've got to be my best advocate too. So, right, I'm going to take care of myself by just getting a checkup at the very least, right? At the very least. You guys, thank you so much for coming into my live. Owen, just hanging out in the background a little bit, listening in on the conversation. Owen, I always appreciate that you're always here first. Today you weren't first. I think Earl, who was first tonight? Was Tammy first tonight? Somebody was, yeah, Tammy was first tonight. Owen was second. I always appreciate you guys when you come in. Earl, I was happy to see you. Andrew, right? I'm glad to hear that, you're not in a rush to get those knees done. That, it's getting done. It's getting done. You're going to go get your hip check. Make sure that that's okay. But yeah, take care of yourself, you guys, right? Be your own advocates. Be your own advocates for sure. You're the most important thing on the entire earth, and that's the truth. You get one shot at it in creating the best life for yourself as you possibly can at the same time rubbing well with others, right? And I'm so glad that you're here every Sunday night to rub up against me. You guys, see you next Sunday.